I'm soldering a CPLD onto a Raspberry Pi based RGB2HDMI. The PCBs I've shown before, but that's them there. So I'm soldering on that square package. I got it into position and tacked it down, and now I'm busy trying to finish the soldering job. So I don't think there's a whole lot to show here other than that, well, it's susceptible to a fairly low skill attack. It takes a little while. A microscope is a big win, and it takes a little while to position the chip accurately and to check and recheck that the chip's on correctly. So there's pin 11, there's pin 1 marked on the PCB, and as you can see the corner's cut off the chip and there's a dot there. So that's the right way around. And I've done those sides. As you can see, this side there's not as much solder. I had a couple of bridges and had to wick it off, but there's definitely solder under the pads, and I don't need them to be drowning in solder. I just need a good electrical connection. So what I do is I figure out the flat on my iron without the microscope. Just give it a bit of a rub in the brass wool, and you can see it there. Nice angle so that I don't try and drag it across onto the package, and there's the solder coming in from the side. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it's a bit cratery. And the flux that I put on with the flux pen's probably dried out. What if I try and up the flux? See how that looks. I'll tell you what it will do, it'll be smelly. Here we go. Oops, I just bumped it over with the... I wonder if it makes sense to blue tack these to the bench. Yep. Anyway. Whoop. Oh yeah. That flux is good. And I mean the whole lot has such a low thermal mass. Oh, that's too much solder, but never mind. The whole lot has such a low thermal mass that it's not super critical, but I try and get the heat down onto the pad and the leg. Still enough on the iron. I could drag solder, but I'm pretty happy with how that goes. So visual inspection, I can see solder mask everywhere. Give that a bit of a dab in the wool. These ones are so heavily overloaded that, there we go. Let's open that gap up, and there's, I don't know what's going on with this one. Not enough heat, not enough flux. Oh, and I bridged it and then unbridged it. I don't know if you caught that. The solder mask busy doing its job for us and rejecting the solder. I think got it. There's a little bead just in between these two pins up this end. I don't know if you saw that either. Too much solder. It's so hard. I had to turn off like my overhead lighting because it was glary in the screen, and I'm talking and makes the work so much harder. But I call that. I'll see if I can pull better focus. I'm focused on the board at the moment, but if I pull out, I should be able to focus on the solder joints more. I can turn the brightness up on the oops. There's a wheel somewhere for the ring light brightness. Oh, there it is. Maybe that's for something else. I don't know. Anyway, now that we've got our focal length, sorry about all the jitteriness, focal length right for the solder, we'll go back because we actually want to check that the solder mask doesn't have any blobs of solder on it. And see, not sure what that is, but look, I think it's fair to say that with work this fine, and we'll have another inspection after it's been cleaned. With work this fine, not having a microscope is a deal breaker. Yeah, there's not a lot of solder there, but there's enough. You can just see my kingdom for a pointing stick. Here's a fat one. You can just see along these ones there's not much, but there is a little fillet, and the solder does wick underneath. I won't move on if I don't see the solder wick underneath. Again, this is a bit too much solder. I'm concerned about what's happening here. I think you can see that on the monitor. If I was a pro, I'd hook that dilb around the end of the tip. I think and there may be some who'll say my tip's too big, and they may be right. But I like it. Quite a beautiful thing. That's fine. That's okay. Wow, what's going on just there? Don't know. But whatever was going on there, it's not going on there any longer. Yep, that's all good. I think I'm back to the start again already. Looks fine. And you can get little blobs of solder that are attached by the flux to solder mask, and there's the slightly under soldered one again. I guess I could, not that I think it needs more, but they can at least all be the same. Yeah, tricky man or woman. don't want to put endless amounts of heat into the part either. There's a little Dilbury on the side of that. Oh, there we go. There's a bridge. That's quite illustrative. Right there. It's an actual bridge. Just kind of wick it away back onto a clean iron. And this one up the end here is a bit rubbish. But it's not anymore. So I'm going to call that CPLD attached and free from solder bridges, subject to a re-inspection once I have cleaned the flux off. But I won't do that until I've attached the few passives that this PCB requires. Which I will do at another time. I'll turn off the iron and then turn off my PowerPoint. That's got both my irons on it. And call that done. And I mean, I think most people would think that they could solder on some little passives. And they're going to be tricky. I mean, maybe I should have done them first, maybe I shouldn't have, but as you can see, they're right next door. But you know, that's a world apart under the microscope with the tip. So I don't have to get anywhere near these to solder those. They're I think 0603. They're very small, and that's fine. I don't mind. But yeah, looks good without the microscope as well. I suppose we could clean it. What if we clean it? And then we can do that second inspection now. And that'll be usefully instructive, I suspect. If I can find a suitable brush. Yeah, there's a brush there. Anti-static brush. I will need some alcohol and some paper towel. I'm not going to rush out there and heat up the ultrasonic. Especially not given this as Benjamin's bench, and with the janky videography you get here, there won't be any cuts, so you'd have to wait for an hour or something before you get to see anything. So there we go. I'll give that a bit of a scrubby-dub. Wipe the bristles on the cloth. Give it a rinse. Tip it over. I'm not wearing my wrist strap, but I'm resting my hands on the anti-static mat, and it's going to have to do. I really don't like the wrist strap. I mean, we have them for a reason, but can you still see that? Yeah, you can. Looks pretty ugly, to be honest, but ugly but effective. No surprise, that's characteristic of Benjamin's bench if you'd ever met Benjamin. That's beautiful. Blind man and galloping horse in a dark night would be pleased to see that. Ooh, is that a bridge of some sort there? I don't know. No. Just some uncleaned off schmaltz. I'll clean it thoroughly when I've finished the job. I'm testing with a multimeter too, I suppose. And I think there might be some burn marks there, like that. That there could be a burn mark from... I got out of practice. I probably should have done a practice board first, especially given the price of these CPLDs, but No, it's not a burn mark, just a bit of hot flux. And actually I probably could do that. Sorry about that, it might be making you seasick. It's damn nearly making me seasick. Just get in there and give that a little actual rub. Oh, look at that. I'm not even finished cleaning it. It's starting to look like it might be done by someone with a clue. Anyway, that's attaching the CPLDs. Yeah, I know. I can zoom in. So, come on camera. So there's pins go on one side and a socket goes on the top, and it goes in where Denise was, and there's a header there for the Pi. And this one is a single switch fellow. And I have for my Amiga 500 Plus Vampire setup. I'll just bring it over. This contraption, which takes the micro SD from the Vampire, there's a Ethernet module goes in there. This button, I can't remember, it was supposed to be for a light or something on the original design, but this will be my RGB to HDMI button. This goes over to the retargetable graphics on the Vampire 2 500, and I have these. Well, let's have a look at these. And they've got a female HDMI on each end. And so, if that's the case of the 500 Plus, I'm going to cut a tiny little slot in it and poke that through, and then the output of the RGB to HDMI can go in there, be strain relieved, and look like a socket on the back. So that should, if I can get that all to work and get this clicked into the sidecar expansion for the sidecar expansion for the 500 Plus, the side trapdoor over near the control key, then I can run the HDMI out of there, the HDMI out of that part I just showed, into an automatic priority based switch box, and I will be seamlessly transitioning between the output from Denise via the Raspberry Pi and the retargetable graphics running on the Vampire. I've got that switcher, they're not cheap. I need a priority mode, so if the retargetable graphics comes on, it gets priority, otherwise it switches to the output from the RGB to HDMI, is I think how it works. I'll have to check that out. I think that's how it works though. And I can program the RGB to HDMI with this fellow here. It's just 3D printed and then painted. Should look good. I might see if I can find a place actually inside the 500 Plus's case to secure the factory side door cover. But my friend Keith, I made another one of these for him, and he has got his running and reckons it goes great. So the breakout box is good, but if we're going to have retargetable graphics on HDMI from the Vampire 2 Vampire 500 2 Plus, then might as well have HDMI out from Denise as well. And these boards are wonderful. They pick up the digital signals from Denise, they spit them out over here via the CPLD onto the Raspberry Pi's board. The Raspberry Pi picks it up and outputs it over HDMI, and it holds frame sync, so scrolling stays smooth and everything. It's I've been using one on a 2000 in the video slot with a different PCB. I've got one here somewhere I can show you. Goes in the video slot from 2000. And it is magnificent. It's even got a mode that sort of does a bit of like a soft focus, which I'm using. When I first turned it, I'm like, ooh, it's gone all soft. Oh, I liked it sharp before. But I thought, no, it's still much sharper than a CRT. I'll give it a moment, see if my eyes adjust, and I never went back. So, anyway, it's my beautiful roll of Stunol lead-free leaded solder. It's too much, but it's just what I could get at the time. Really top quality. Given how much I use as a hobbyist, I would have preferred to buy not quite so large a reel, but even still, using cheap solder seems a false economy. I have a similar gauge solder in lead free as well, but the smaller pack. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Hope that was a bit interesting, and I'll be back at some stage, most likely with a bit of a video showing how it all goes together inside the Amiga 500 Plus.